page 3. I'm sorry.
It's recording.
Okay. Once you're recording, more and live on Facebook. Okay. And then Deal Doctor live stream ConEd a preview. Browser tab will open. Share to your group. I can't get it to scroll down. Oh, there it is. Getting there, getting there. Share to your group. 5-star connect. Oh, I feel so proud of myself.
I'm impressed.
See your co-pilot. On the show. Okay, it says go live.
But we don't want to go to Facebook because we don't, if you go too far, you're going to literally take us to Facebook. And we don't want to do that.
Go live. Okay, so I'm at the point right now where I'm supposed to go live.
Okay. So you think you're there. So we should just leave everything up the way that it is, have our discussion, turn our cameras off until we're, for 5 minutes, or maybe we don't even need, maybe we'll just stay here, but just to make sure we don't lose this place.
Right, let's do that. So today I just wanted to cover, take some of the questions that we posed in our ConEd and, play them back with the answers, like with, for example, in my conversation with Katie Aguilar, we talked about what's necessary to work with a trust, to sell a house under that's owned in a trust. And we have to have the certificate of trust existence and authority, identifying who has to sign, and all of those kinds of things, and that sort of stuff. What happens when we have a client who may be presenting symptoms of dementia behavior, dementia behavior? What do we do? What's our responsibility? That sort of thing. Same thing with, valuations and environmental stuff.
Okay. I'm just thinking about all the details of what Linda said, because much of what she said was stuff I didn't even understand. So
What's that?
I said some of what Linda talked about is so far out of my realm of knowledge that I couldn't even say it. I mean, could we all just kind of give a little recap of
Sure.
Versus give the answers, you know what I mean? Because we want them to tune in for ConEd. I could just talk about, a few different areas that she's going to cover. Eric, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to go over some main points with regards to ConEd that, one topic that was discussed was mold. Well, mold is everywhere. So people need to understand that you go into a home and you say there's not going to be any mold. Well, there is mold. How does mold get there? It's from moisture or water.
Right.
So one issue for folks is we might just need better ventilation to solve a problem when it comes to mold.
Yep.
So I'm just going to highlight some of the topics that I talked about.
Okay.
I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I didn't know what Don's vision for this was. That's what my vision was for, but this is, I didn't know.
Well, Yeah, that's all. Just have a conversation about some of the things that we talked
Okay.
about in our ConEd to sort of create a little bit of buzz. You know, just, I know that a lot of agents are chomping at the bit. I know that they are getting emails from Sun Title. So let's try to forestall that sort of stuff so that they can take ours.
Yep.
And I think it would be really cool if there was some sort of rollout, you know, a big to-do when this, you know, it looked like it was coming, going to go online. You know, like maybe a video with me wearing a top hat and acting like an ass or something, you know. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to do another video, but the point is, I think that there should be a bit of fanfare to get agents to tune in. I think,
Yeah, I think you could give a big promo too, Don, in the beginning when you set it up, that just says, you know, what a unique opportunity that you are a part of a brokerage that loves ConEd, and the fact that we take time to put together the topics that our broker wants our agents to be educated in as a setup for the whole thing. I mean, if you could just talk about that for like 10 minutes, then Eric and I would have to talk less. Right, Eric? But no, I think that is an important piece of it though, really.
heard you. Okay, I gotta
You
get
heard me?
coffee. I'll be right back.
Wait, so you're gonna talk for 10 minutes at the beginning? Did I hear you say yes?
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I can talk for 40 minutes waiting for a thought to occur. I'll be right back.
All right. All right, I'm gonna go get my water too. I'm done with coffee. Did you let everybody else know? Okay. Have you been asked, Eric, yet whether or not you have a copy of the redactions or the additions, not redactions, additions to the new policy manual?
Yeah, Mary Scazzini just was emailing me,
She did,
wanted to know
okay.
if we could do a Zoom with the staff to go through in case there were any questions.
Okay.
I've said I'd be happy to do a Zoom meeting just to review. But I have to wonder, when an agent reads this, should be pretty clear on what's going on, unless there's a specific situation that they're in that they want more clarification on.
Yeah, I think that they're just thinking, if they're saying, well, what's different? What changed?
Hey, I got my new Johnston and Murphy catalog.
Ooh, I love that.
What's changed? Everything in
Mhm.
that, because language has been different. It's the same principles and concepts haven't changed.
Mhm.
The biggest one that people might be surprised by is the E&O insurance.
Mhm. Yeah, we all are, including the broker.
Uh,
Okay. All right.
This is so cool.
and property management would be the other big one.
Okay.
Okay, so my niece sends me a birthday card, okay? Says, you're 1 year closer to that special age when you can joke about having lived with dinosaurs. But for now, you can say you were around for dial-up internet, which is basically the same thing. Happy birthday. God.
The beeps and clicks of AOL.
AOL.
Okay.
Beep, 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 beep. I love the handshake.
Okay, I can't think of what it's called when you go before the appeals board, when you want to appeal your taxes. That's called, you're going to the,
Tribunal, tax tribunal.
well, there's the tribunal, but you got to go to the assessor first, right? You go there and then you go to the tribunal if you don't get the answers you want. What's it called? The board of review. You go to the board of review,
Right.
and then if you don't get what you like, then you go to the tribunal.
Well, and yeah, I think the ConEd, I'm sorry, the tax tribunal
Mhm.
is more about,
Commercial.
no, fighting your homestead exemption sort of thing.
I think it's for anything, the tribunal. I think if you don't get the answer you want from the local assessor, then they send it up to the state, and that's where the tribunal happens. And then the local assessor sends their assessment of what you didn't like to see if you can, fight it there. But there's more than one process, I guess. But we're going to talk about the board of review anyway. All right, so I'm just going to cover some basics. Assessed value versus taxable value. How do you appeal your taxes, veterans, deadlines for a property transfer affidavit, uncapping of taxes. I'm going to talk about sales study. Okay. I mean, like I said, after Don's 10-minute intro, it'll be quick. Eric is multitasking big time.
Really?
We had our little thing over there in
I don't
Holland.
know how to multitask. I do one task at a time, and it's done very poorly.
Okay.
We had our thing over there in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you about Zach Alikar and how he thought it would be a great idea to get like a little group together, like maybe 6 people, and do like a little prototype where we get a group of people together and say, okay, we're going to make you successful. You have to commit to this. And if you don't, we're going to kick you out and beat the living snot out of you. Okay. And do this as a sort of prototype to say, here's the success, like where Ninja started, like where Sweathogs started.
Hey,
So
Don, before you go on, you might need to stop recording and then start a new recording feature. Otherwise, everything that's been in the past 10 minutes might go onto the Facebook Connect. Would that be correct or not?
I don't think so, because we oftentimes start ours and we chit chat first about what we're going to talk about, and then we just go live.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, it's 1 o'clock, so here we go.
Okay.
We'll give it a shot.
Yep.
Thank you. Good luck.
Hey, thanks.
Watch for that record in the upper left.
Can't even see it. Upper left. Let's go.
For us, it is in the upper left. I don't know about you.
Is anyone seeing anything here? So
It will say live, but
I'm not even seeing a.
I'm going to check to make sure we're not live in Facebook.
did you click the go live button?
Yeah. Let's try it again.
So much easier when Emma does it. She's a pro.
Well, share to your group. I have a bunch of groups. Star.
I'm like, Emma, she didn't even respond to my 911.
It's okay, we're doing fine.
We're live.
Are we live? Yay.
We are.
Hey, we did it. We did it all by ourselves with the help of Elma. of course. So we're doing this a little bit differently, and thankfully we were able to pull it off. So welcome. It's Monday. It's 1:02, and we're starting the Deal Doctor live stream. Today, we're kind of excited because we found out that we're getting pretty close to ConEd. A lot of you have been asking questions about ConEd, and we're really, really close to being able to roll it out. It should be within the next couple of weeks or so. So pay close attention. We'll be announcing more soon. But what's really cool about it is that 5-Star has 3 state certified instructors, Tracy Johnson, Eric Graham, and myself, and we are all doing a segment of this year's ConEd. We have 3 segments, 3 2-hour segments, or class hour segments, I should say. And the topics are elder law, environmental concerns, and valuation concerns. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to present. And when you see the ConEd hit, and trust me, they're not going to have all the little stop places where you have to click to move forward. That's kind of an exciting.
Oh, darn. I'm really disappointed. We're not going to have to click next or take a little quiz at the end.
I know, Tracy, you were hoping for that, but we got overruled, you and I. They just found it annoying, and actually it was. We acknowledge that.
My section only has 1 question in 98 parts.
That's
Enjoy.
It sounds like you.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
what's really exciting?
Are we going to do watch parties again? Maybe you can talk a little bit about watch parties. We did those last year.
We did, and I'm going to actually let you talk about it. What's exciting, though, about this program this year is that our broker support team and owners brokers came together and said, here's what we think is important for our agents. Here's what we're finding out in the field. So we custom tailored our ConEd to what you need. And so I think that's really kind of a cool thing. But Tracy, talk about watch parties and so on that agents are going to be able to do.
Yeah, well, I think the unique thing is that we used to get together once a year in February, usually late February, early March. It would usually be on Greg Carlson would pick the perfect day when I would drive from Detroit in like a really, white knuckler snowstorm. He would pick the date, and it would happen every year. But anyway, but now, we're a company that we're all over this great state of Michigan, whether you're in Elma or Traverse City, Cadillac, Ludington, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Lansing, Jackson. I know I've missed a lot in between, Highland or Spring Lake and Holland. We have agents all over. So COVID caused us to do continuing education virtual. And from there, it led to these watch parties that we did strategically all over the state. And so we're going to do that again this year so that we can all come together in a more regional area. And I think we did breakfast. We had a little light breakfast and then some lunch to do that together. But as Dominic continues to finish editing this video, once it's done, we'll make sure that we get the message out to everyone, the locations of those pending watch parties.
Eric, any thoughts before we get into the individual topics?
No.
Are you clear?
Sounds good, Eric. You don't get off the hook that easily, my friend. How about you go first? And let's talk about your segment that you did with Gene Harms on environmental. Give a little overview on what
an overview on environmental concerns in real estate is the 2-hour class that I was hosting with Gene Harms. Gene has a phenomenal background history, Fair State alumni, so I have to put that plug in. Go Bulldogs! And Gene has been in environmental health management, consulting, quality control for 30+ years. So when I sat down with her and we were going over environmental concerns, some of the big topics that we talked about was mold, lead-based paint, asbestos, radon gas, storage tanks underground, whether they were outside or inside, PFAS, phase 1, phase 2 in baseline environmental assessments and the differences, Superfund sites and brownfield sites. So we have a lot of information coming at folks. And one of the big things that you'll learn about was mold. You know, we're always concerned about, oh my goodness, it's mold, it's mold. Well, mold is everywhere. Let's just face the facts. I mean, mold is going to be somewhere in a home, anytime there's moisture or water. And normally when we see mold, it's because of condition of maybe we just need better ventilation, like in an attic, because there's moisture in there. You have better ventilation, mold will go away. Sometimes we have to mitigate it. So we talk about certain issues and what to look for and how certain people are so sensitive to mold that it may cause asthma attacks and other more concerns from a health standpoint. But just because you have mold doesn't mean that it's the end of the world for that home. So that was a great topic. Another one was asbestos. I don't think people realize asbestos isn't everything, but we only really talk about it in heating ducts, or, you know, oh, we're concerned old time ducts that were wrapped in asbestos. Well, when you watch our ConEd, you'll learn that asbestos is in roofing materials, siding materials, flooring, mixtures. I mean, you name it, it's probably everywhere in your home. It just depends on what type of asbestos it is. So we'll go through some of that for folks, and we'll get a little more educated on the process of
Does anyone know what vermiculite is?
vermiculite.
Yeah, that'll take you back.
That comes later. That's also addressed in the ConEd. So if you
Okay.
want to know, you have to stay tuned and watch ConEd. Another issue was radon concerns in Michigan. You know, radon's everywhere. Seeps up through the grounds. So we'll address radon with folks on what to look for, how to mitigate it, what systems are best to use. We'll also be talking and reviewing about underground storage tanks. And I think some agents will be surprised that based on the size of the tank, there is no federal regulations to control those tanks and what we have to do with them. They can be left there. But you know what? I'll have to make sure that you tune in to understand when you can leave something and when you need to call and notify state and local governments to do something with a tank. We'll talk about PFAS, a big concern, and how PFAS has been around, and the number of different PFAS components that are out there, and the harm that they are doing, and how they accumulate in the body and they stay there, and the potential for those causing cancer, liver damage, decreased fertility, increased risk of asthma and thyroid diseases. Again, that's portrays some of my pharmaceutical background, but you'll have to watch the video if you really want to know more. And then we'll talk a little bit about super funds and these environmental programs that are available to address hazardous waste sites. And then we'll go into a little more of the industrial, commercial, real estate, environmental issues with agents, and brown sites for the investor. What is a brown site? How do you get involved? Who do you need to hire? And that's the great little summary of what I put together for 2 hours of ConEd. I hope you enjoy it. So thank you.
It sounds great. And that is one of the things we wanted to do with this program this year, is bring forth experts who, in the fields that we are talking about, not just to have us as real estate agents and brokers and broker support team giving you information, but to have real experts in the field. Tracy, who did you have? You had a couple of folks in your program. Can you give us a little bit about insight?
So we did 2 areas. We did appraisals and the whole appraising process, and then we also did the assessing process. Okay, so kind of 2 totally different things, but we'll start with the appraisal process because it pretty much happens on nearly every transaction unless it's cash, right? You need an appraisal. And so we're all familiar with what it means to get an appraisal, but to actually go through the entire process of appraising. So the different facets of appraising, whether it be, because financing also differentiates one type of appraisal to another. So we covered just a regular conventional appraisal, some of the requirements for an FHA appraisal, or perhaps a VA appraisal. the differences between RD, that rule development alone. What are the clear differences? And so he really goes into, I can't think of his name right now.
Blaine Fian.
Blaine, yeah, Blaine Filan. So really a total pro, owns his own business, does some national syndicate, not syndicate, he does some national live streams teaching. He's a true pro and does a really good job kind of laying out what happens in each one of these different areas and helps agents understand why things get called out and why he's required to do that and how sometimes they even get called out in a conventional product.
He was actually one of our speakers at a company meeting, I think, a few years ago, and great speaker, but really, really good educator.
Yep.
So,
yeah, super detailed. Yeah, it was really helpful. So I think that whether you're a new to industry agent or even the seasoned veteran, you're going to pick up something from each one of these areas for somebody who's just going to drop a little bit more information into the appraising process that you weren't aware of before that day. And the other part was assessing. And I think more than anything, what you're going to find out about the segment in assessing is just the value of your local assessor and how you shouldn't be afraid to go in and knock on the door, stop at the counter, get to know that person. When you're a listing agent, in my market, we have something called the public data record. And I can go to the public data record and pull up everything that I can possibly find on the house, right? And in my MLS, it will also say, when someone lists a house, it'll say square footage. And then it'll say, where did you get this information? Owner, previous appraisal, public data, assessor. And I love it when people put previous owner or previous listing and the square footages are really different, 200 to 300 square feet different. And I'm relying on previous owner. Like they said, yeah, I think the house is around 2,200 square feet. When really I go to the city assessor and I found out it's 1,850. Well, that's a big difference in value, right? So what we really are encouraging is we're encouraging you to go in and get to know your local assessor. Just know that you can get a copy of the record card from that house that tells all the details that one could ever want to know about a house, including that square footage, which is verified by that local assessor who's come out and put tape around that house and measured that home. So things like that, things like what happens when you are unhappy with your new tax bill? You've just bought a house and the tax is uncapped. What does that mean? And what is the process to appeal those taxes? You're going to learn about that. You're going to find out if you're a veteran. What kind of special tax benefits are there if you're a veteran or if you have a client that has a veteran? We're going to teach you how to be a pro in taxes so that your clients win and that you're a good advice giver. We're not giving the advice. We're actually going to tell you where to go to get the advice. So I think there are two really good parts of ConEd this year that I think everyone's going to leave having learned quite a bit from.
Who is the person who you interviewed with assessing? I'm sorry.
Yep. So her name is Linda Goslin. She is the city assessor. Actually, she assesses your daughter's taxes in Ypsilanti Township, and she is the city assessor for Livonia, which is the second largest community in Wayne County.
Well, okay, but not for much longer, but that's a different topic.
For your daughter, yes.
Anyway, my segment was on elder law, and my guest instructor was Katie Hogan Aguilar with Rhodes McKee. She graduated from Notre Dame Law with her Juris Doctor in 2006, and she specializes on elder law, all manner of elder law, including probate, Medicaid, disability, conservatorship, and all of that sort of thing. So we went through a whole variety of questions on our legal and fiduciary duties to elderly owners. And one of the big things is talking about a trust and how you convey title within a trust, who is authorized, getting the certificate of trust existence and authority is a huge piece of the puzzle, because that tells you who is authorized to approve transactions within the trust and on behalf of the trust. We talked about powers of attorney, the various types of powers of attorney. We have to be very careful that the power of attorney that we are using or that we have been said exists covers the ability to sell a property. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they are limited or they have time limitations on them. So there are a lot of issues that we cover with elder law. One of those issues is sometimes we run into people who want to add a family member to the deed in order to avoid probate. The pros and cons of that. And that it doesn't actually avoid probate at all. It just changes the nature of the probate, but it also creates complications out there when that person added to it could have exercised undue influence with the owner of the property. Talked about dementia and limited capacity that we have when we what our responsibility are when we suspect that an elderly person has diminished capacity to enter into a contract. So it was there were a lot of topics that we went through. It was really I found it really interesting. I learned a lot, and I think that the agents are going to learn a ton in all three of these segments. Does anyone have any questions in that about this?
I was just going to say, you probably really enjoyed that segment of elder law, Don.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Just come at me, buddy. Yeah, it really was. I actually did. I had to go back and evaluate my own documentation and the things that I have in place when I get my brain gets mushy, which is about a week from now. But yeah, it was. I really learned a lot, actually. So thanks, Eric, for mentioning it.
He's got your back. No, at the end of the day, I think it's really good. I love the topics. Don, thank you for just sort of putting the outline of it together and helping design what it is that we would present to our agents. I look forward to seeing it in its completion and sitting together with our agents to do it. So,
Eric,
yeah, I know that all of us put a lot of time and effort into this, but again, thank all of you and our 5-star team behind the scenes as well. A lot of times they don't get credit for putting it together and editing and making Don look so handsome.
It's a challenge. I assure you, it's a challenge. But thanks for bringing that up. Now, I think it's time for me to mute you. But anyway, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.
bye,
Take care.
everybody.